How's it going, everyone? In today's Black Ops 2 weapon guide, we're going to take a look at a weapon that's overshadowed by the FAL, and on paper looks like one of the worst weapons in the game, that weapon being the SMR, which is another semi-automatic rifle. This one's unlocked at level 46. Before getting started with this guide, I want to ask a little question. We often convert acronyms of weapon names such as the FAL and the AUG to little words like FAL and AUG. So with that in mind, I guess the SMR would be the SMR. So let's get started and take a look at the SMR in Black Ops 2. This weapon's best feature by far is its damage ratings. It weighs in with a damage profile of 50, dropping off to 40 at super long range, although it does drop off slightly to 49 as an intermediate figure, which all in all means that this weapon's capable of a 2-shot kill out to almost 40 meters, after which it drops off to a 3-shot kill, which is still lower than many of the other weapons in the game. Being a semi-auto weapon, the recoil of this weapon isn't too high. It's not quite as low as the FAL's laser beam spread, but it's still one of the most accurate weapons in the game. With an accurate weapon you need a good set of iron sights, and thankfully the iron sights on the SMR are really nice. You might want to use a point on a red dot sight or an ACOG sight to help with your long range accuracy, but you can certainly get away with using no optical attachments at all. But moving on, let's take a look at some more detailed stats for the SMR. This is where on paper the SMR starts to look like a dreadful weapon, with all of its stats being pretty terrible, starting with its magazine size of 20 rounds, which is the lowest out of all the assault rifles, and you can only extend that up to 27 with the extended clip attachment, giving you just a measly extra 7 rounds. The fire rate for the SMR is also the slowest out of all the assault rifles at 535 rounds per minute. That gets even less when you use the select fire attachment, and it's even slower than the FAL. And to finish off a bad hand of stats, the SMR's reload time weighs in at 2.69 seconds, which is the highest out of all the assault rifles, so all in all this weapon's got the worst combination of statistics in the assault rifle category. But even with all these terrible stats, the SMR does redeem itself with that 50 damage figure equating to that 2-shot kill. Not only this, but being able to achieve that 2-shot kill right up to almost 40 meters is much more impressive than the FAL's 2-shot kill up to around 15 meters. Just to put this in perspective, 40 meters is just about where most of the fully automatic assault rifles would drop off to their 6-shot kill range, so the majority of your gunfights in game you're going to be able to tackle people with just 2 shots, after which the maximum number of shots required is only going to increase up to 3. So choosing between that SMR and the FAL is definitely a tough decision. On one hand, the FAL's got much better stats all round, it's got a faster fire rate, slightly larger magazine and a much faster reload time. But as we've discussed, the FAL can only manage that 2-shot kill up to around 15 meters. Another factor to consider is that the FAL has been constantly nerfed in these updates, which means its recoil is progressively getting worse, while that SMR plus select fire configuration has remained intact. So if you're one of those guys who hates seeing everyone use the same weapon in every match and like using something a little bit less mainstream in your own setups, then the SMR might be the perfect choice for you, both in its semi-auto and its full auto configuration. With that select fire attachment, it performs almost as good as that FAL. Well, let's move on and take a look at my recommendations of an attachment configuration for your SMR in game. To be honest, you can really run any attachment with this weapon. I don't think there's any one attachment that I'd advise not to use. A couple of attachments I was pleasantly surprised with were the long range optics like the ACOG scope and the hybrid optic. I've never really enjoyed using those on the full automatic assault rifles or even on the LMGs, but with the SMR it works really well. With this weapon having such low recoil, it makes it easy to pick off targets at long range, plus only needing 2 shots makes it quite a good anti-sniper tool. One area this weapon might let you down is in those close range engagements. With it being semi-automatic, you don't have that firepower to just spray out bullets and take out enemies at arm's reach. So with this in mind, you might want to go with that laser sight to help protect you in these close range battles. But out of the whole spectrum of attachment choices, my 3 recommendations would go with the fast mags, suppressor and select fire. Fast mags is really a must on this weapon. You've got that small magazine of just 20 rounds combined with the slowest reload time out of all the assault rifles, so while that fast mags attachment isn't going to remedy the size of your magazine, it's going to make it much quicker to swap out and keep yourself in the action. With this weapon being semi-automatic, or at least with a slow fire rate in full auto, you'll find that you can conserve your ammo that little bit better and not exhaust your magazine too quickly. Weapons with good range are always a good candidate for a suppressor, and while the suppressor is going to ruin the SMR's main feature of that long 2-shot kill range, it's at least going to give you those stealth benefits and help keep you alive by stopping you from popping up on that minimap. And while this weapon is pretty capable in semi-auto mode, just like the FAL, it becomes much more deadly with the select fire attachment, Converting this weapon to full auto means you're going to be much safer in close range, and with this weapon having such low recoil, the only thing you've got to worry about is making sure it's pointing in the right direction and just keeping your trigger pinned. But like I mentioned, you really can't go wrong with an attachment configuration for the SMR, even down to the foregrip, which might come in handy just to reduce that recoil down to FAL levels. Otherwise, we've got attachments like FMJ, which are a good fit. With this weapon having such good damage figures, it makes it pretty capable of punching through cover. The only attachment you might want to give a miss is that grenade launcher, which, as we discovered in my Grenadier class setup, are pretty useless in Black Ops 2. So let me know your thoughts on the SMR down in the comments. Out of the two semi-autos, which one do you prefer, this SMR or the FAL? Even with its dreadful stats, do you think this weapon can live up to the legacy of the FAL, or do you think it requires some buffs somewhere in its statistics? As always, if you are a fan of this weapon, or if you just enjoyed my guide, or learned anything new, I'd really love a thumbs up down below just to help spread the word and share the video with your friends. If you've just happened to stumble across my video, don't forget you can subscribe for plenty more of these Black Ops 2 weapon guides. And if you look down in the description, there's a link to the full playlist, so you can check out any episodes you might have missed. I've yet to do my full guide on the FAL, but I think I might wait just in case it's nerfed anymore in the future. In the meanwhile, I think I'm going to play around with the SMR a little bit more, with it being such a cool looking weapon. Don't forget to come and give me a follow on Twitter and Facebook, links to both profiles are also down in that description. Otherwise, thanks for watching, I'll catch you all later. SMR. SMR. SMR.